Good afternoon. Good afternoon. If you could all take your seats, we're going to begin. Wow, I love having a microphone in front of a bunch of people. And I'd really kind of forgotten how much I like that. It is so great to see all of you here. I'm going to come back in a minute and really welcome you and really open the program. But we are so excited to open this event this afternoon with a drag performance from 3 performers from the Baton Show Lounge here in Chicago. So please welcome Jackie Couture, Joan Jullian, and Jourdin LaRue. Have at it. That person is very tall.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Baton Show Lounge is proud to present the Chicago debut of America's newest sweethearts, The Dreams.
Every man has his own special dream, and your dream's just about to come true. Life's not as bad as it may seem if you open your eyes to what's in front of you. We're your dream girls, boys, we'll make it happy. Yeah, we're your dream girls, boys, we'll always care. We're your dream girls will never leave you. No, no, and all you've got to do is dream, baby, we'll be there, yeah. Dream girls will help you through the night. Dream girls will make you feel alright. Dream girls keep you dreaming your whole life through. Your dream girls can make your dreams come true. We're your dream girls, boys, we'll make it happy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're your dream girls, boys, we'll always care. We're your dream girls will never leave you. No, no, and all you've got to do is dream, baby, we'll be there, yeah. Dream girls will help you to survive. Dream girls will keep your fantasies alive. Dream girls always love you and they'll be true. Your dream girl can only make love to you. I'm not the dream that you had before. I'm the dream that will give you more and more. We're your dream girls, boys, we'll make it happy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're your dream girls, boys, we'll always care. We're your dream girls will never leave you. And all you've got to do is dream. All you've got to do is dream. All you got to do is dream. Baby, we'll be there, yeah. We're your dream girl, oh yeah. Dream girl, ooh. All you got to do is dream. All you got to do is dream. Baby, we'll be there. We'll be there. We'll be there.
Can we do one more round of applause for that performance? You know, I gotta say, I never ever bought into the whole idea of the ACLU being a dangerous organization, but Mr. Attorney General, I think we just broke the law in Tennessee. Welcome to the 2023 ACLU of Illinois Lunch. I'm Ed Yonka, the Director of Communications and Public Policy at the ACLU, and I am really happy to be back with all of you as your host for this afternoon. We begin by recognizing that we gather today on land that is and has long been the traditional homelands of the Anishinaabe, or the Councils of the Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations. We recognize them, the legacy of violence and settlement and displacement that these people have suffered and survived. And we recognize the importance of reversing this common history of which we were all a part by supporting Indigenous communities' continued struggle for respect, self-determination, and sovereignty, and to right the historic wrongs of colonialism and state violence. We also want to recognize and welcome those observing Ramadan. Happy Ramadan. There is a prayer room available here at the Hilton for those who are observing, but we're thank you for being with us for this event today. You know, it really does feel like forever since we've all been together like this. And so the ACLU really wants to thank all of you for joining us today, whether you're here in the room or those of us who are joining virtually. We welcome you all. And we know that none of the work of the ACLU is possible without the support of each of you, without all of us showing up in a host of different ways. So we're grateful that today you decided to show up here. So thank you again. We're pleased to be joined today by so many members of the ACLU of Illinois Board of Directors, our chapter leaders from across the state, ACLU staff and members of the Next Generation Society. We're joined by a number of clients and allied organizations, and by a number of elected officials. And we express our deep and sincere appreciation for all of you who've been part of sponsoring this event and making it such a success, including our presenting sponsors, Charlie and Jill Gross, our visionary sponsors, Laudy Vidney, Stoll and Friedman, Ruth Krugli and Daryl Davidson, Carrie Miller and Nina Cavan, Missy Pascal, Robert and Joe Cohen-Sawyer, Mary Stoll and Jim Stryker, and the Weinberg Newton Family Foundation. Thank you all. Over the course of our program, you're going to hear a lot about the work of the ACLU to protect and extend civil liberties to every corner of the state of Illinois and indeed across the country. To reflect the breadth of that work, we want to begin by sharing with you a number of voices expressing in their own words why they are active in the fight to protect civil rights and civil liberties. So watch this.
I support the ACLU because it is grounded in its focus on what is happening on the doorsteps of America. Accessible at the state and local levels, the ACLU maintains a constant connection to the people of this nation and the most critical issues that impact their civil liberties.
I support the ACLU because they defend people who can't defend themselves and work to uphold my freedom and liberties.
I support the ACLU because my voice as a youth matters and we are a part of the process.
I am so proud to work with the ACLU of Illinois to fight to ensure that youth across the state has access to their own counsel. I think that the work that the ACLU of Illinois do is so important to our communities, and definitely someone who has the lived experience of being a youth in care. This means a whole lot to me, but it means a lot to the former youth in cares and youth in cares all across the state of Illinois. Thank you for all you do.
As an American Muslim living in a post 9/11 world, The ACLU has helped me and the American Muslim community work through a variety of national security issues. The wide reach that the ACLU has across the country brings people together as a group to challenge discriminatory policies. Then there are the people who work for the ACLU, professionals who have dedicated their careers to protect equality and fight every day for our freedom and constitutional rights.
The ACLU of Illinois houses a team of dedicated and selfless civil libertarians who work tirelessly day and night to protect, preserve, and defend the rights and liberties guaranteed to us all in the United States Constitution. The question is, where would we be in this country if not for the ongoing efforts of a dynamic, strong, and effective ACLU? We support this critically important organization because, frankly, we don't want to find out the answers to that question.
I support the ACLU because there are no better partners in the struggle for freedom than our friends at the ACLU. Ben, Kadeen, Ed, these folks are champions and they are so effective at doing what they do. And that is bringing forth great change to our city, our state, quite frankly, our country. Thank you so much for all the work that you do for our communities.
I support the ACLU because we, as a society, need them. For over a century, the ACLU has fought for our constitutional rights, including our right to vote, our right to reproductive freedom, our right to justice in the face of police brutality, our right to love another human regardless of their gender. We all deserve to be treated fairly and equally and without prejudice. And the ACLU fights for our rights every single day.
ACLU, let's face it, the battle to preserve our constitutional freedoms was easier to explain when the president was a heavy-handed, outspoken bigot. Now the battle has been joined in jargon. How many Americans could actually tell you what woke means, or CRT? We know, but that's because there are Fox News code words challenging the basic American values of tolerance and diversity. And we know that the effort to protect the hard-fought rights and roles of women, LGBTQ Americans, and people of color in modern America is one of the greatest challenges of our time. As chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee in Washington, I know that these are only a few of the reasons why we need the ACLU to battle on for our constitutional rights. Press on, ACLU.
So thank you to everybody who shared their voice in that video. As the testimonials you've just heard illustrate, protecting civil rights and civil liberties is not about a single issue. It's never about a cookie-cutter approach. We have to stand ready to tackle the full range of issues using creative tools and assuring protections for everyone. We simply cannot leave anybody behind. When we each play our role, when each of us donates, when we show up, when we make calls, when we send emails, and when we even just stay informed, there's so much that we can do together. Consider just a few of the things that have happened in just the past year. In the wake of the Dobbs decision by the Supreme Court of the United States, we all came together in Illinois and further enhanced protections for abortion rights in our state. We are a safe haven state for people in need of abortion care from states as far away as Texas and Louisiana. We did that by working together. Because of our shared commitment and work over many years, we are one day closer to ending money bond in Illinois and assuring that no one languishes in county jail awaiting trial simply because they don't have cash. This year, the ACLU of Illinois achieved a landmark settlement with Clearview AI, a company with the largest databases of face scans and other biometric information in the world. Because of what we did, with the support of those in this room, Clearview is no longer doing business with any public or private entity in Illinois. And our staff won a victory against the Federal Bureau of Prisons on behalf of a transgender client. The very first time that a federal judge has ordered the Bureau of Prisons to provide gender-affirming surgery. Now look, these are tremendous signs and strides of progress. And it's really, really easy to look at this progress and, repeat the oft-repeated and recited adage that the long arc of history bends towards justice. But the reality that we all know is that the arc is not self-correcting. It doesn't bend itself. That's our work. That's what we do together. That's our shared charge. Together, we the people have taken that long arc of history and continued to bend it towards justice to create the world in which everyone enjoys freedom and dignity. And for that, we should be proud. But there are storm clouds on our horizon. We see the rise of extremism not only around the country, but right here in the land of Lincoln. And so while we celebrate the work currently ongoing and the wins that we have seen and secured over the past year, we cannot rest, for there is more ahead for us to do. And a lot of that work will be to push back against the attacks on LGBTQ people, especially trans youth, and to confront and oppose attacks on our First Amendment from those seeking to ban books and, goodness, even drag shows. We want to share with you some of the work being done by the ACLU and by people committed to building a better Illinois to fight this rising tide of bigotry. So again, I would direct you to the screens.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the ACLU of Illinois' Board of Directors, let me add my welcome to this year's lunch. At the core of the ACLU's work is protecting the First Amendment right to express and be oneself. While free speech and free expression values are perpetually under attack, today we see concentrated efforts aimed at limiting the speech and expression of the LGBTQ+ community. In Illinois, we have seen and fought back against local efforts aimed at banning drag performances and removing books focused on gender identity and sexuality from schools and libraries. Other states across the country have continued to impose bans on trans students playing sports and laws blocking and even criminalizing gender-affirming healthcare. And some states are considering so-called Don't Say Gay laws that ban inclusive LGBTQ+ materials and curriculum in schools. In Illinois, we will continue to proudly say gay. We will proudly continue to protect trans kids and give them gender-affirming care. And we will continue to enjoy drag shows. We want to share with you some of the civil liberties heroes who are fighting back against these attacks.
I've been identifying as Raina since, 1993. When I learned about the restriction that, the state has on name change, if you have a felony, you can't change your name for 10 years. So then I waited about 13 years. I was maybe 34 or 35 when I went into the Daily Center, and then they said, do you have a felony conviction? And I'm really honest, and I'm like, yes, I do. Then they told me, they were like, oh, you're not allowed. And I kind of tucked away, and I had to process it alone. And I mourned the fact that I would have to live with that name forever. Having to maneuver and live in a society with identification that does not match your gender identity is torture. All these kind of things that you have to do that people take for granted and don't even think about, it becomes a brutal barrier in the process of becoming better.
Illinois' name change law was one of the most restrictive laws on the books compared to other states. Some people say we're in Illinois, so what's the big deal? We're pretty good when you compare it to other places that are passing really horrible laws right now, but we still have horrible laws on the books, and it's important for us to continue to fight to make sure we get rid of the old stuff and also hold the line on making sure that none of those bad ideas that are happening in other states happen in Illinois.
The ACLU was extremely helpful. Kadeen really stood true to the mission of this case. Once the vote started, we just kind of took a deep breath. And then, we heard the number 3232, and that's when I realized that it was successful. Screaming and celebrating, and it was a beautiful moment to share with my drag mother. I felt a huge sense of relief. Very grateful for Kadeen and the ACLU. To be able to finally change my name, I will feel just relief. But that doesn't mean that the work is over. They're continuously coming for us as a community. They're consistently trying to minimize us as human beings.
We talk about eternal vigilance is necessary in the ACLU, and it's true. We can never sit back and say, you know what, we're better than this other place, so let's kind of lift our foot from the gas pedal. We always have to be just ready to fight against potential harms and trying to get the support to repeal laws that are really harmful.
I run a youth space. I raise this next generation of trans youth that I've been there for years. And I wanted to show my youth that, change is possible. Find people that are just as passionate about changing policy. In order for us to really make those changes, we have to be that change.
Northwest Suburban Bakery is being told it cannot hold any future events in its shop. It was the victim of a hate crime vandalized. It was preparing to host a family-friendly drag show. The bakery's owner told us about the ongoing threats and angry messages she continues to receive.
Hosting drag shows here was just another way for our bakery to be a community resource for LGBTQ folks in our area to be represented and included when they oftentimes are overlooked.
People were calling us groomers, people were calling us pedophiles. This has been an ongoing thing for the past month.
Almost every week I was hearing from either legislators or community partners about harm that was happening in their local community targeted at LGBT folks. So it feels like we're back in time in some ways.
Windows busted and offensive slurs spray painted on the building.
My initial response to the vandalism was fearful for my family and everything that we have built. I started fighting for myself, for my bakery, for my staff, and for the community that was now under attack.
Village officials told her the events violated a local ordinance and she had to refrain from holding them.
At that point, we weren't just fighting for events and for drag shows, we were fighting for our First Amendment rights. And that's when the ACLU stepped in to help us overcome that. Because although I knew what was being done here was wrong, I didn't know exactly why it was wrong and what I could do and if I could do anything. And that's where people like the ACLU come into play. That's why they're here, and that's why it's so important to have them.
Aurora's LGBTQ community is ready to celebrate its pride.
The Aurora Pride Parade is now officially back on for Sunday after the city pulled its permit.
We wanted to make sure that it was clear to everyone living in Aurora, LGBT or otherwise, that they have a home there and that they're welcome. It's great to go to a pride event in another city, but it's another thing entirely to have one thrown where you live and see all these people that support you coming out of the woodworking gathering on one day. I can't really put into words how special that is. We were really excited to be back because we'd been off for 2 years for COVID. So we put in the parade application. We did run into issues. We had our permit revoked. We had a strong sense that what was going on wasn't strictly constitutional. And, we got some support from the ACLU essentially saying, we're paying attention, behave. They were hugely supportive during the lead up to the hearing for the permit revocation appeal and afterward, just with us every step of the way. As a community, we've worked so hard for centuries, honestly, for equality and visibility, and I think that's why it's so important to have events like this to show people that we are pushing back and no one's giving up.
When people see or hear about events that target LGBT folks, I think the first thing is to say something. We say you counter speech with more speech. So if you hear about something that's being organized at the local level, you organize your friends and family and people from your community and adjacent communities to show up and support. That's really critical. The other thing is to vote. Those school board elections, those municipal elections are coming up soon. Voting is critical, and the local races are becoming more and more important. So showing up there, showing up at those school council meetings, or showing up to local board meetings to say, this is not reflective of our values, it's not reflective of my values. I am also a person who lives in this community. And the other thing you can do is when we send you an email that says take action, actually take action, donate to the ACLU. This work is really important. The ability to partner with folks who are, on the same side of the issue is really important. And I think the really important added value that we can bring is being around for over 100 years and a commitment to being there for the long haul.
Thank you to everybody who was in the video, Jill and Raina, who's here today, Kadeen, who's not, unfortunately, Gwen and Corinna. We appreciate your participation. So our next speaker falls in that category of somebody who, probably doesn't need an introduction. Colleen Connell has been the executive director of the ACLU of Illinois for more than 2 decades. And as a lot of you know, she was the longtime director of our Women's and Reproductive Rights Project prior to becoming the executive director. Over a number of years, she's led challenges to many of Illinois' antiquated and happily now repealed statutes that blocked or created hurdles to abortion access. And of course, the reason that many of you here know about that work is because you worked beside her and supported those efforts as they were ongoing. This year has really seen Colleen bring her experience and talents to the fore in response to an emerging challenge. When the Dobbs decision first leaked and was later issued stripping away the constitutional right to abortion, Colleen, and this won't surprise anybody, didn't hesitate or didn't back down. Instead, she led the charge to assure that we have the infrastructure and the resources at the ACLU that are necessary not just to keep abortion access legal in Illinois, but to further extend protections to patients and providers all across our state. Her commitment to civil liberties and civil rights is unrivaled and really does continue to inspire so many of us each and every day. So please join me in welcoming Colleen Connell.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you all. And thank you all for being here, whether you're here in person or joining us virtually. It's great to be back together, and welcome all. Since we last gathered in person, I had hoped that the autocratic residue left by the former president would have dissipated and that we could talk about something else. Yeah, I wish. Sadly, that is not the case. 2 years after being voted out of office, the former guy and his minions continue to undermine our democracy in 3 ways. First, the courts. Under the guise of originalism and states' rights, the courts are gutting the post-Civil War amendments. As intended, this is eviscerating constitutional protections for people of color and the liberty of each of us to make intimate decisions. Furthermore, decisions on voting rights predictably are making it more difficult to use the electoral process to restore our rights. Second, the big lie. Failing to reverse his loss in the 2020 election, the former president and his cohorts repeatedly lie about its outcome, eroding confidence in our electoral system, which is the foundation of any democracy. And third, political violence. Unable to hold on to power lawfully, the former president continues to implore his followers to take back our country. Some in Congress go further, suggesting we should pursue a national divorce code, I fear, for political violence or a second civil war. That a member of Congress would suggest, even passingly, a second civil war puts in stark relief the crisis confronting our country. It resurrects the horror of the Civil War, as well as Lincoln's plea at Gettysburg, that the country honor the thousands of Union soldiers who gave their lives so that our country might live. The lives lost at Gettysburg, Antietam, and Shiloh, and so many other battles, spurred a new birth of freedom in this country. That freedom is reflected in the ratification of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. Collectively, these amendments profoundly changed the Constitution. They were intended to and did create a federal threshold of individual liberty and rights, a bulwark against the human oppression being championed under the disgraced banner of states' rights. The insurrectionists who carried Confederate flags into the Capitol on January 6th debase this legacy. Those who continue to rally under the banner of Make America Great Again champion a return to the antebellum bigotry that, left unchecked, will destroy our democracy. So I chafe when pundits minimize these threats as a culture war. In so doing, they disregard the gravity of the harm that will be done if we allow those forces to prevail. We must recognize and name the crisis for what it actually is. It is a war on our democracy, not a culture war, when a portion of this country insists that they have the right to ban not only the books their children read, but also the books that our children read. And when white Christian nationalists erroneously claim our country was founded as a Christian nation, this is not a culture war. It is a rejection of the First Amendment and the historical record of people coming to America to seek religious liberty. This lie is fueling a rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. It is not a culture war when a political party seeks to deny women and trans youth medically necessary care. This is a repudiation of fundamental human rights. We also must recognize and name where this battle is being waged. This battle for our democracy is not confined to southern states and the halls of Congress. It is also raging here in Illinois. We are seeing censorship not only in Florida's Don't Say Gay law, but also in suburbs like Downers Grove, Barrington, and Lincolnwood, where groups like Awake Illinois and Moms for Liberty seek to ban LGBTQ books in public libraries and public schools. Attacks on sexual health education are not limited to Oklahoma, Tennessee, and South Carolina. We are watching Illinois politicians like Darren Bailey demagogue against the sex ed that keeps our children safe. And attacks on the alleged teaching of critical race theory are not limited to Indiana or Missouri or Nebraska. Schools in Illinois are being questioned about this mythological curricula. And Congress's most irresponsible member, and there's a lot of competition for that, Marjorie Taylor Greene, outrageously suggested that one school in Illinois received more than $5 billion to teach CRT. I know, the ludicrous of that is just beyond despair. Of course, as you know, no such school exists. Now, none of us, myself included, likely thought we would ever be called upon again to defend rights that were established so long ago. We hope never to return to a day when women in many states would be forced to carry a pregnancy to term. We could not comprehend the inhumanity of the attacks we see on trans youth. We could not fathom the renewed efforts to keep Black and brown people from voting. But the debate is now joined, and none of us can sit on the sidelines. We must fight these fights because protecting our democracy means protecting fundamental rights for all of us. All of us. We can leave no one behind. Our shared work, and it is our shared work, requires protecting basic rights at the state and local level. Earlier this year, the Illinois General Assembly, because of efforts from many in this room, passed and Governor Pritzker signed a measure that protects healthcare providers and patients seeking abortion care, whether those patients live here in Illinois or in another state. This law also rightly protects those who provide or seek gender-affirming care in Illinois. Now we need the Illinois General Assembly to go further, and this session enact House Bill 3603, which protects personal health care information. As you know, in the wake of the Dobbs decision, protecting health information that's captured by our phones, our apps, and our web searches has become a matter of life and death. So tell your representative that you support House Bill 3603, and they must too. Six years ago at this event, and it seems lifetimes ago, I noted proudly that there are more of us than there are of them. That reflection is as true today as it was in 2017. And it remains true that we must continue to act individually and collectively to protect our rights. Today, however, the place to be is at the local school board meeting to oppose book bans. And today, those of us who march for change after the 2020 murder of George Floyd must continue to advocate for real police reform. That means showing up for local city council meetings when they debate use of force policies or expanding community oversight of policing. And if you're in Chicago, it means monitoring the work of the newly formed Commission for Public Safety and Police Accountability. Today, working to support our rights means voting in every election. Every election. On April 4th, Illinois voters will elect city councils, school boards, library boards, park district boards. We must show up and vote like our lives depend on it, because they do. What we do, individually and collectively, in the months and years ahead, to create an Illinois in which liberty for all is protected, will be remembered. It will be revered, and with the work of our ACLU colleagues and supporters across this land, it will be replicated. We will protect and secure our democracy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
One more round of applause for Colleen, please. I was pretending it was for me as I was walking up the stairs, so thank you very much. Colleen, I'm always so inspired by your words and by your leadership of this organization, and I'm so very proud to be here to support the ACLU. Good afternoon. My name is Sufyan Sohel, and I proudly serve as a member of the ACLU of Illinois Board of Directors. I would like to begin by saying Assalamu alaikum, and peace to my brothers and sisters in faith who are in attendance today. Ramadan Mubarak. I wish you and all your loved ones a month of light, love, and blessings. For those of you not fasting, any food looks really good to us right now. So a special shout out to my table mates in enjoying their desserts. I hope it was really good. Today, we've heard all afternoon about some of the work, ACLU's important work. We heard about the challenges that our society faces, that many opportunities for progress, and the role that each of us must play. But it's only a small part of what the ACLU does each and every day. As a civil rights attorney, I've often turned to the ACLU for insight, for expertise, and for assistance when there were threats to my communities and communities that I support. Without fail, the ACLU has shown up each and every time. They're not only here when my rights as a Muslim or as a child of immigrants are threatened, and I'm made to not feel welcome in my own home, but they are there when trans rights are under attack, when Black and brown people are harmed by the police, when disability rights and access are denied, and they continue to fight when the rights of a woman of her own body and reproductive health are stripped away. The ACLU responds to each of these calls and to so much more. They understand that the fight for civil rights and civil liberties must include everyone, that it is necessary to be present for every community when facing a threat, and that their work each and every day must reflect their commitment to ensure that we, the people, truly means each and every one of us. That is why I support the ACLU. That is why we should all support the ACLU. And that is why I am asking each of you, those in here in the room or watching online, to join me today in making a gift to support the ACLU's important work. Please give whatever you can to ensure that the ACLU continues to fight, to advocate, and to protect our civil rights, both here in Illinois and across the country. This work is so much more important than ever, and we need your help to ensure that the ACLU reaches its ambitious fundraising goal today. So right now, I invite you to take a moment and look for that big envelope in the middle of your tables, the green ones. Yep, you got it. Now, inside those envelopes, there's a number of smaller envelopes. And I'm going to wait till I see everyone get one of those smaller envelopes. Please pass them around, fill them out. For those of you joining us online, click on the link in the chat or the donate button under the video screen, and please make your gift online. Really great job in passing around the envelopes. Now, please do fill them out. If you prefer, you can also text the word ACLU to the number 243-725. Again, that's 243-725. Or send a check to the ACLU offices. Information for both of those can be found on your donation envelopes. I see a couple of you aren't filling out the envelopes, so before I call you out by name, just please take a moment, just quick text. I forgot the number, but it's on the envelope that you have. I think 243-725. As you're considering making a donation today, think about what it means for the ACLU to truly serve we the people. No one should face hate for being who they are, and we heard a lot about this today. No one should face hate for their gender, their nationality, or their creed, or for any other identifying factor. The ACLU has their back. They have all of our backs. They're working to protect access to abortion care. They're fighting for a fair immigration system, and they're fighting to defend free speech and opposing book bans. The ACLU is fighting to reform our criminal legal system, and the ACLU is fighting to protect our very right to vote. They're working on all of these issues, and they can do so much more with the support of each of us today. Please give what you can. whatever you can to support this incredible organization. No gift is too big or too small. In this case, bigger is better. So please extend your minds and your hearts, generosity. And during the month of Ramadan, we are encouraged to give back and to support those less fortunate than us and feed the hungry and serve those. So I ask you to think with that in mind, and what can you do to make a difference today? What can you do to support an organization where every dollar will help them serve so many more? So for those in the room, once you are done filling out, please put your envelope back in the larger green envelope. Our volunteers will be by at the end of the program to collect those envelopes. So if you haven't finished it by now, just before the end of the program, I ask, complete it, put it back in the envelope, but do put something down. You know, every dollar does help, and we'd love to see as great of a participation rate today as we can. I would not serve on this board nor be up here today if I did not believe in this passionate and talented team and their unyielding commitment to fight for each of us. I want to thank you all for being here with us today. Thank this incredible team for all their work, and for everyone who's part of this ACLU family for supporting our collective work to ensure rights for all. Only together can we, the people, continue to make this change. Thank you. Thank you. Don't worry, I'm not done yet, quite yet. It's now my pleasure to welcome Nida Shakir Ghaffar, the president of the ACLU of Illinois Next Generation Society, to the board.
Good afternoon. My name is Nida Shakir Ghaffar, and I am the president of the ACLU of Illinois Next Generation Society. Thank you, Sufyan, for your powerful call to action. If you have not already made a gift, please consider doing so now. It is my honor to speak with you today and to introduce this afternoon's keynote speaker, Amber Hikes. 8 years ago, the Next Generation Society was founded to create an opportunity for more people to get engaged in the work of the ACLU. Our view is whether you are a lawyer, a chef, an artist, a student, an activist, whoever you are or whatever you do, if you want to join in on the ACLU's fight to protect and expand our rights, NextGen will welcome you into the ACLU community and find a way for you to join the fight. This innovative approach to engagement and activism has been a critical part of our achievements. For example, NextGen's Freedom Fund initiative raised more than $1 million for the ACLU. In addition, the Society funds a staff attorney position working on securing abortion rights and expanding access. NextGen members have also hosted numerous events, showed up at rallies and protests, and fought to help pass important legislation. As a Muslim woman and a lawyer, I see every day how important that fight is and just how essential the work of the ACLU is in that fight. And I have seen that we are successful and stronger when each of us stands together against every effort to diminish or take away our rights. What has become so clear over the years, and I know is clear to everyone here, is that each of our fights are collective. We only win when we all enjoy equality regardless of identity, beliefs, or where we live. The attacks we are all seeing unfold all over the country, especially concentrated against women and LGBTQ people, are attacks on all of us and against all rights. This message that our fights are never individual and are part of a greater collective is at the heart of the message and the life of our keynote speaker today. Amber Hikes is an organizer and change agent and an inspiration across the globe, a social justice advocate, community organizer, and an unapologetically queer and Black activist. Amber is now helping to shape the future of the ACLU's work as the National Deputy Executive Director. Before taking on this role, Amber served as the ACLU's first Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, where they provided leadership and support to the organization's equity, diversity, and inclusion work. In 2017, Amber introduced the world to their Color, More Pride flag. The flag is a visible symbol of the intersection of LGBTQ+ issues with matters of gender, race, and age. The flag reflects Amber's lifelong commitment to intersectional thinking about problems that plague our society. Amber often points to finding inspiration in the words of Audre Lorde. There is no such thing as a single-issue struggle because we do not live single-issue lives. We know this at the ACLU, that we must show up not only for ourselves, but for everyone, because the rights we fight for are not mine or yours alone. They are ours. Please join me in welcoming the keynote speaker for today's lunch, Amber Hikes.
Good afternoon, my friends. Oh, I know y'all can. Now I know y'all can do better than that. Good afternoon. There it is, there it is. I'm gonna need a little bit more energy from y'all. This has been a lunch, my friends. This has been a lunch. I'll tell y'all, I do attend a few fundraising events here and there, and it is not often that you get to start and end with a drag show, okay? So, thank you. I want a little bit of energy. And in the middle of a Friday afternoon, come on, give it up for the ACLU of Illinois team. They are bringing it. Setting the bar high, Ed, setting the bar high. While y'all are clapping, I need you to keep it going for Colleen and her incredible team here. My gracious. Colleen. Absolutely extraordinary, visionary work and leadership that has helped make the lives of so many communities better, safer, and more equitable. Thank you, thank you, thank you all so very much. And I want to thank, for sure, the ACLU of Illinois team for inviting me here to be able to speak with you all, and certainly being a part of this amazing organization that we are all a part of. So as you just heard, my name is Amber Hikes, and I am the first Deputy Executive Director of Culture and Strategy at the ACLU National Office, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm also the first Black non-binary Deputy Executive Director of the ACLU's history. Thank you, my friends. We're trying to do the damn thing. Thank you, thank you. It's a big job. It's a big job. I lead the critical functions of strategic planning and programmatic priority setting at the national office. And all those words essentially mean that I'm responsible for helping to coordinate our strategies for reproductive freedom, trans justice, systemic equality, voting rights, democracy, and so much else. It is a very big job, especially at this time in our nation's history. But I will tell you honestly, my friends, I could not imagine doing this work anywhere else other than the ACLU. This organization is extraordinary and unique. People know the ACLU for our powerhouse legal department, a legal team that fights for our rights all the way up to the Supreme Court. They know the ACLU for our mighty political and advocacy work that covers the ground in racial justice and criminal legal reform and voting rights and disability justice and so much else, freedom of speech. They know the ACLU for our extraordinary ability to communicate and message with taglines like, "We'll see you in court." Do y'all remember that one? Oh, yes, y'all do remember that one. I'll tell you, whether you remember it or not, I know who did remember it. Every single member of the Trump administration. They definitely remember that tagline. I think it still haunts their nightmares because they heard it over and over and over again as we sued them over 400 times in 4 years. So they certainly remember. We'll see you in court. And we did, and we won. So people know the ACLU for the legal team, for the political team, for the comms work. But the real power of this 2,000 person plus, 103-year-old, formidable, resilient juggernaut isn't the legal team or the political team or the comms work. It is our affiliates. Affiliates like the ACLU of Illinois, who are not just defending but expanding our civil liberties, who are racking up the wins in the most essential civil liberties battles of the day. Wins in our fight for reproductive freedom, in criminal legal reform, in racial justice, ending cash bail, fighting with and for our trans communities. My friends, that's the work. And you can hear and feel how passionate I am about the work of the ACLU of Illinois, because I have the unique privilege of visiting ACLU affiliates all over the country and getting an insider's look at the way that they are fighting with and for our communities. And not just responding to civil liberties threats when they arrive, but more importantly, anticipating them before they hit our shores. That's the work that matters. And it matters now more than ever before. And I'm gonna tell you why. Now, you all know I work at the ACLU National Office in New York City, and I work about 2 doors down from our National Executive Director, Anthony Romero. And Anthony's been with the organization for over 20 years. And he started about 2 weeks, he was like a young man of like 35 or something, and started about 2 weeks before September 11th. And whenever I think that I had a tough month on the job, I think back to what that could have meant for him. And Anthony talks often about how the organization has changed and grown and expanded and adjusted to meet the needs of the civil liberties challenges of our time. And when he talks about this time in our country's history, he says, we are in the fight of our lives. We are in the fight of our lives. And I agree with Anthony, I do. But when I look at the work ahead for the ACLU of Illinois and all of our affiliates, and when I think about people of color and Black, Indigenous, and Latinx people specifically, and when I'm thinking about women and immigrants and LGBTQ people, but trans and non-binary folks specifically, people experiencing poverty, people that are incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, people with disabilities, our Muslim and Jewish communities, young people, our elders, we are not just in the fight of our lives, my friends, we are in the fight for our lives. That is the reality. That's the challenging news. But you know what the good news is? We are well armed in this fight. The ACLU of Illinois in particular, and y'all will check me on this number, I think is 65,000 strong. Wow, I was right. I heard it already. Wow. You, my friends, are bold thinkers and brave actors. You are accomplices and agitators. You are resistors and builders. You are powerful. But with great power, we know, comes great responsibility. Because we in this room know that we cannot leave anyone behind. You've heard it again and again just this afternoon. We cannot leave anyone behind in our fight for civil liberties. There is no waiting a turn for freedom. That's not how we do it around here. There's no we'll come back for you next. There ain't no we'll see if we can win that next year. No, it is all of us, and it is all of us right now. And you all have done so much. We have done so much. But my friend, as the saying goes, we have not come this far to only come this far. We can do more. We must. The times demand it. It is our responsibility. So I have some homework for y'all, and I'm gonna make it specific. That's kind of my thing. And I like threes. Colleen did threes, so I'm gonna do threes too. I want you to donate, I need you to educate, and I need you to elevate. When I'm talking about donating, I need you to give your resources. Beyond this being a fundraising lunch, right? Let's get real. These fights are well funded on the other side because they know what's at stake. We cannot rest on our laurels and count on winning hearts and minds. We must count on funding court battles and donating to protective, defensive legislation and advocacy on the ground. This is serious work, and it requires serious resources. And we got to educate. We cannot stop at educating ourselves. We must make it our job to continue to educate others. I need you to talk to your people. Talk to your folks. Take this home. Don't let someone downplay an injustice in front of you. And I need you to make it personal, even though that's the hardest part. You got to call in your transphobic aunt. You got to do it. It's time. Call her ass in. It's time. It's time. I know it's awkward, but you got to call her in. The racist one, too. It's time. Y'all laughing because you got them. Your cousin, get them together. This isn't about picking a fight. It's not about storming out. It's not about making people feel shame. This is about saving lives. And it's about building a better future for those who are yet to come. Remember, my friends, this isn't just the fight of our lives. It is the fight for our lives. Donate, educate, and elevate. I need you to elevate. Bring the voices of those most impacted to the center of the conversation. Amplify the ideas, the wisdom, the leadership of the people who have the most at stake. Elevate women and other folks who can get pregnant in your work for reproductive justice. Amplify and follow Black, Indigenous, people of color leadership in your anti-racist work. Believe in the wisdom of our young people when you are advocating for the protection of our youth. And elevate, elevate, elevate the voices of trans and non-binary people when you are advocating for our trans liberation. Donate, educate, elevate. Again, these are serious times, and they require serious resources, my friends. Now, when I look around today, I know people are skeptical. We see a lot of our communities under siege. And we've unfortunately been here before. But again, the ACLU of Illinois is well suited for the fight. I don't know if y'all know this about us, but we ain't got to get ready because we stay ready. We just stay ready. Y'all know. We ain't got to get ready. We stay ready for a fight. I know there's a lot of uncertainty and fear out there, though. People are worried that we can't win. A lot of folks say, well, what if this? What if that? This is not the time of what if. This is the time of even if. Even if our educators are censored, prevented from teaching the reality of American history, and LGBTQ history, and Black history, the ACLU of Illinois will demand that our young people have access to education. Even if our voting rights continue to be eroded, the ACLU of Illinois will defend our democracy. Even if our reproductive freedoms are hanging in the balance, it'll be the ACLU of Illinois that refuses to back down. And even when trans and non-binary youth are under attack, the ACLU of Illinois will stand up and fight back. Can y'all say that with me? I know somebody's been marching on these streets. Y'all know this one? When trans youth are under attack, what do? Oh, somebody's been marching. All right. So we're going to do it again, y'all. When I say when trans youth are under attack, what do? Y'all say, show up, fight back, stand up, fight back. You can do either. Show up, fight back is the more accessible version. Diversity, equity, inclusion. You can take me out of it. You never take it out of me. All right. When trans youth are under attack, what do? Okay, y'all. Ed, I told you they could do the call and response. He wasn't sure. He wasn't sure. He wasn't sure. He did believe in y'all. He did. We're going to do it one more time because I want to make sure they can hear us in Arkansas and Tennessee and Texas and Florida. And as we heard, apparently right down the damn street, when trans youth are under attack, what do? That's what I'm talking about. That's the energy I needed today. Y'all may have to come to lunch with me all the time. I see Ed looking at me. Don't pull me off the stage just yet. Before I go, I do want to share something a little bit more personal with you all about why this means so much to me. Last month, my godchild, Trin, that's their name, Trin, celebrated their 14th birthday. And it's been a journey. Anybody that's got 14-year-olds in the room, sheesh, child, just pray for us all. I was there when that child was born, and I have been blessed to help raise them with a community of queer siblings since 2009. And when Trin came out as non-binary, I am so delighted to say that they were wrapped in love and acceptance from both their chosen family and their family of origin. And because they live in Philadelphia, they have been fortunate to receive excellent gender-affirming care at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. It is not overstating it to say that these resources have been life-saving for this young person, and the reason that they were able to see their 14th birthday last month. I cannot imagine what I would do if they were denied life-saving health care, or the ability to play sports, or the ability to even talk about their own identity, or mine, frankly, in a classroom. I share this brief moment of personal reflection because Trin's experience is special, and it shouldn't be. Every trans and non-binary child in the world deserves this, and we must fight with all of our might to protect our young people and ensure that trans kids in Oklahoma, in Texas, and Arizona have the same access as kids in California and Pennsylvania and Illinois. It is a human rights issue, and it requires all of us, y'all. I was thinking about Trin when I released a TED Talk a little while ago about the importance of lifting while we climb. Lifting while we climb. And in this talk, I ask us to consider, what good is it? What good is all of our privilege? What use is it making it to the top if all it affords us is a bird's eye view of everyone we've left behind? So my friends, know that we have more to do, and know that we need you in order to do it. This is not just the fight of our lives. It is the fight for our lives. And my friends, we have not come this far to only come this far. Thank you so very much.
Well, y'all might have some idea why we invited Amber at this point. And just for the record, I said the call and repeat wouldn't work with me. I didn't say anything about you. So, before we hear again from our drag performers, and before we part this afternoon, I want to just take a moment to remind you that Sufjan's green envelopes are still sitting there in the middle of the table, and if you haven't had time yet to make your donation to support the work ahead of us in Illinois and across the country, you still can. We need your support. But let me also sort of just encapsulate the charge that I think you've heard about moving forward today. We hope you're inspired to show up when you see an effort to ban books or a drag show in your own community. We hope you'll show up and share your thoughts with local leaders when they're considering policies about policing and surveillance and other civil liberties matters that affect you in your neighborhood. And we really hope that everyone will show up on or before April 4th and vote. You have a chance to elect local officials all the way down to the local school board and library board who reflect your values. And if we do all of these things, and if we can continue to bend that arc of history towards justice, and you know what? We can come back next year and have even more to celebrate then and in the years ahead. Thank you so much for being part of this event. Thank you to everyone who helped arrange this and put this on, to the incredible staff at the Hilton who did all of this work. And now, to close us out, I'm happy to welcome back Jackie, Joan, and Jourdin from the Baton Show Lounge. Have a great afternoon, everybody. We're standing right there waiting for me. You know, we thought we'd put the awkward part at the end of the program.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Find light in the beautiful sea. I choose to be happy. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star, I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. I knew that we'd become one right away. Oh, right away. At first sight, I felt the energy of sun rays. I saw life inside your eyes. Diamond, shine bright like a diamond, shine bright like a diamond. party people in the club. If you go hard, you gotta get on the floor. If you're a party freak, then step on the floor. If you're an animal, then tear up the floor. Break a sweat on the floor. Yeah, we work on the floor. Don't stop, keep it moving, put your drinks up. Pick your body up and drop it on the floor. Let the rhythm change your world on the floor. You know we're running tonight on the floor. Brazil, Morocco, London to Ibiza, straight to LA, New York, Vegas, Vegas, Vegas. Who's going to Vegas with me? Tonight we gon' be on the floor. Tonight we gon' be on the floor.
All right, make some noise if you guys enjoy that. Give it up for Jackie Couture. She is our Latin fire at the Baton Show Lounge. Thank you guys so much for having us here. Up next, we have all the way from Paris, France, Joan Jullian.
You wanna take me cruising on an ocean liner to places I long to see? Well, with my champagne taste and your beer bottle pocket, don't forget to write me when you get there in your rowboat, when you've paddled across the sea without me. Do you see us dining on caviar and pheasant with the descendants of royalty? Well, with my champagne taste and your beer bottle pocket, I'll be having pheasant while you're dining with the peasants, dunking donuts in a diner without me. You said you have ambition to make my dream come true. Well, brother, you just keep right on wishing, and all of my dreams will come true without you. Do you see me in a Jaguar with all the accessories, and one of those accessories is you? Well, with my champagne taste and your beer bottle pocket, take back your Jaguar, accessories, etc., and drive back into your dreamland without me. And if I wanted diamonds, you'd offer me breakfast at Tiffany's and luncheon at Cartier's you'd recommend. Well, with my champagne taste and your beer bottle pocket, you will have to work on something better than a zircon, because your diamonds are this girl's worst friends. You said you'd promise me anything to make my life a feast. You didn't give me anything. Not even arpege, you beast. And it wouldn't surprise me if a lady like Godiva had someone like you to give her the stall. For with her champagne taste and your beer bottle pocket, when she couldn't get those dresses, she just let down all her dresses and forgot she was a lady after all. So if you want me to be a part of your permanent employ, Before my champagne fizzles, come up with a real McCoy. Show me you can separate the man from the boy. To bring me a constant life of champagne taste. And joy.
Are you willing to compromise within a relationship?
Compromise? What is compromising? Compromising for what? Compromising for what reason? To compromise? For what? To compromise. What is compromise?
If a man came into your life, wouldn't you want to compromise?
Stupid. A man comes into my life and I have to compromise? You must think about that one again. A man comes into my life and you have to compromise for what? For what? For what? A relationship is a relationship that has to be earned, not to compromise for.
C'est si bon de partir n'importe où, bras dessus, bras dessous, en chantant des chansons. C'est si bon de se dire des mots doux, de petits riens de tu, mais qui en disent en langue, en voyant notre mine ravie. Les passants dans la rue nous envient. C'est si bon de guetter dans ses yeux une esprit merveilleux qui donnait le frisson. C'est si bon, ces petites sensations, ça vaut mieux que millions. C'est tellement, tellement bon. C'est bon. Voilà, c'est bon. Les passants dans la rue, bras dessus, en chantant des chansons. Quel esprit merveilleux. C'est bon. Je cherche un millionnaire avec des grands Cadillac cars, mink coats, des bijoux jusqu'au cou, tu sais. C'est bon. Ces petites sensations. Peut-être quelqu'un avec un petit yacht, non? Oh, c'est bon. C'est bon, c'est bon. Vous savez bien que j'attends quelqu'un qui pourrait m'apporter beaucoup de loot. Ce soir, demain, la semaine prochaine, n'importe quand. C'est bon, si bon. Il sera très crazy, non? Voilà, c'est tellement bon.
That is Joan Jullian. Let's bring our last entertainer. Everybody say, aww. She goes by the name of Jourdin LaRue.
comprende lo que sufro yo, tanto que ya no puedo sollozar. To you, my heart cries out perfidia, for I find you the love of my life in somebody else's arms. Your eyes are echoing perfidia, forgetful of the promise of love you're sharing another's charms. With a sad lament, my dreams are faded like a broken melody. While the gods of love look down and laugh at what romantic fools we mortals be. Salsa, salsa es caliente, caliente mi fuente, goza y baila mi gente. Mi cuerpo pide, oye, oye, oye. Oye, mi cuerpo pide salsa y con este ritmo no quiero parar. Hey boy, I see you looking. I know you're watching, but you won't make that move. Oh yeah, I know you want me. I'm trying to show you there's no way you can lose. Oh baby, come on over here and give me what I want. If you don't know how, I'll teach you fast. We don't have to worry about tomorrow now. I know that I want you and I want this night to last. Y baila mi gente. Mi cuerpo pide salsa. Oye, mi cuerpo pide salsa. Y con este ritmo, papi, vamos a bailar.
Thank you so much. So never let it be said that we didn't put on a show. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you all very much.